Brodes Media.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on into the Day After Pod. We have a lot to tackle today. Nick Sirianni addressed the media around 3:15 on Monday to give us some information, so we will absolutely dissect what he said. Ray Didinger was on the WIP morning show and compared this Green Bay team to last year's team, and if you remember, they went into Dallas as a wild card squad, so you'll hear the audio of what he's thinking. And also, Dan Orlovsky discussed what the Packers are missing when viewing the Packers offense versus the Eagles secondary. You'll hear that audio and, of course, your phone calls. So a super fun show lined up. Before we get into anything, playoffs. We're talking about playoffs? You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple, like a player to score 6. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick now. You can also take a look at this Eagles line. It has moved in the Eagles' favor more. People are pounding the birds. Of course, lines and odds are subject to change. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code BRODES. That's code BRODES for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY 467369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after insurance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Let's start with Nick Sirianni, shall we? Nick Sirianni says Jalen Hurts is still in protocol and he does not have any new information for us. That was to be expected. That was obvious. We need to wait until the middle of the week when this team takes the field to get a true step for Jaylen. So do not get fooled by Adam Schefter. Do not get fooled by James Palmer. And by the way, I got no problem with them. I actually like James Palmer a ton. I've had the opportunity to interview him and have him on a couple of my shows over the last few years. I think he does a tremendous job. But when Nick Sirianni addresses the media and says, hey, there's nothing to see here, we're still in the same spot, and they tweet it out there without any context on it not really having the opportunity today to be anything other than in the same spot, you're doing everybody a disservice, because then the panic button goes and then the alarms start to sound, but you shouldn't be sounding the alarms until Wednesday. I get being uneasy, and trust me, over the weekend, I started to become uneasy. There's a difference between being uneasy and straight up hitting the panic button. I don't like that we're here. And now I'm trying to dissect the NFL protocol rules and read into every single detail that applies. You think that's how I want to consume my time? Thinking about the Packers? It's the Packers week, and I'm here reading what the difference is between Phase 4 and Phase 5. After hearing during Sunday's broadcast that at least we got Jalen Hurts and his flesh at a walkthrough for the first time in what seems like 3 weeks. So that's a great sign. How did he respond to that? I don't know. I have no clue. We also got to remember, though, that this team and this organization would look for a competitive advantage in Week 18 against the Giants, which is essentially a dress-up game and a preseason type of game. That's what it is. No, isn't the dress-up game mean they're actually dressing the starters in a preseason game? I don't know what the right term is. But regardless, Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman would look for competitive advantages in a game where Tanner McKee and Will Shipley and Jahan Dotson and who else is out there? Anais Smith. They're always looking for an edge. So how do you think before a playoff game they're going to manage this? They don't care about our feelings. They don't want to give us any sort of knowledge because giving us any knowledge is giving Matt LaFleur knowledge. So just remember that as we tiptoe through what may be an uncomfortable time and an uneasy week, waiting and waking up and thinking for the first 5 seconds of actually being aware for the morning, how's Jaylen doing? Because that's what I'm doing. The second I wake up, the second my eyes open and I realize it's a new day, I go, how's Jaylen? The Eagles are going to play this a certain way to make us nauseous no matter what. And the reason I say that, it's funny I'm about to bring up Emmanuel Acho. Okay? Do your research. But I remember him putting out a clip about maybe a couple weeks back about his time with Chip Kelly. And they installed something that they were never going to use. And they put it out on tape. I may not have every little tiny final detail down to a T, but the overall story and the paraphrasing that I'm going to do is enough for you to get my point here. But if I remember correctly, they used a play in the preseason that they knew they would never, ever, 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 ever use. Acho ended up going to the Giants. And during his time with the Giants, they spent, even though it was just a little bit of time, they spent time in their practice preparing for what Chip Kelly put on that tape. When Chip Kelly told Acho when he was in the Eagles facility and the entire team when they were going over it, this is all just for nonsense. And then the Giants actually wasted time in practice trying to go over it in case the Eagles use it. My point is, if there's ever a world where for maybe 5 minutes, 6 minutes of an entire work week that Matt LaFleur think of Kenny Pickett, Matt LaFleur thinks of Tanner McKee, that's 5 or 6 minutes maybe they're not focusing on kickoff returns, where they're not focusing on special teams, where they're not focusing on something else. And maybe those 5 or 6 minutes is enough to distract you. Sounds silly, sounds foolish, but there is truth to it. And you know for damn sure the league works like that. So I thought it was a fascinating story. And I wouldn't be shocked, and I'd put a ton of money down on it, that there's a way Nick Sirianni tries to take that certain angle throughout this week. So be prepared for that emotionally as well. All right. So Wednesday's the day. That's the big takeaway from Nick Sirianni talking. So here is phase 4 and the language, for whatever it's worth. The player continues cardiovascular strength and balance training, team-based sports-specific exercise, and participates in non-contact football activities. That's phase 4. Now, the gray area is if he accomplished all of that in the walkthrough and is already trying to attack phase 5. Phase 5, if the player tolerates full participation, practice, and contact without signs or symptoms, and the club physician concludes that the player's concussion has resolved, he may clear the player to return to participation. So we're trying to see exactly if, when they get out there on the football field, we get through phase 5. But that's the wording of it from a technical standpoint through the league. But what if there were some sort of side effects during the walkthrough? I don't know. I don't know where his head is at. I don't know where the brain is. We have no knowledge whatsoever. I hope that's not the case, and I'm praying that's not the case, but there is a possibility that it doesn't respond, or he doesn't respond the way that we would like to when he does finally take the practice field to see exactly how he feels. Because going out there is one thing, but once you're out there and you go through the conditioning, you go through the reps, you throw the football, you run around a little bit, are you good to go, or are there still reasons to wonder where exactly his brain is at? I believe deep down that he's going to play. I do. I don't think 3 weeks with that hit is going to knock him out of the playoffs. So I project him to play. And another reason why I feel that way is this. If you listen to the postgame show, it was right after I saw the lines come out. And the line stated Eagles 3.5. And I was very, very thrown off by that because that's such a small line. And knowing Jordan Love at that time was going through something and we didn't know exactly where he stood, knowing that Watson was most likely out, knowing Alexander was out as well. We didn't have the full update on where Watson was at that time, but we obviously got that now. My point is, there were a lot of reasons to actually think less of the Packers due to their health. Fully healthy, okay, but they aren't fully healthy and they are hurt in some pretty serious positions here, right? So 3.5, wow, that's a smack in the face. Well, turns out that if they were to play the Commanders, the line would have been 7.5. So I was trying to figure out if the 3.5 was based off of Jaylen's status and them having some insight on what the trajectory is and where he stands. But if it was a touchdown plus favorite against the Commanders, then it doesn't say anything, because you wouldn't be a touchdown favorite against the Commanders with Kenny. You wouldn't be a touchdown favorite against the Commanders against Tanner McKee. That would only be the case with Jalen Hurts. So I was trying to figure out if the 3.5 had anything to do with Jalen, and turns out it's not. I just think that they value Green Bay too much. 7.5 against the Commanders feels right. 3.5 against the Green Bay Packers doesn't. The number has been pushed, and there's been money on the Birds. That's now moving it to 4.5. I see it starting to climb, and yeah, I mean, get in now, because it may get to 5.5. It may get to something of that nature. And I don't know if I necessarily love it at 6 or anything like that, but 3.5, wow. Stunning. Now I'm starting to wonder if that was all a play to try and suck people into actually taking Green Bay. Because like me, my first reaction is that's telling me something. And if that's telling me something, I wonder if Green Bay has a shot. That's what someone who may not be involved emotionally with either of these teams may be wondering. Because if this wasn't Green Bay and Eagles, and this was two teams that I don't give a damn about, I'd go, whoa, hold on a second, that's a small line. I may be taking that underdog on the road then. I just think they got it wrong. As much as I trust Vegas and their ability to get close and all that, sometimes they are way off. And I just don't see this being as small of a line as they opened up with, unless, of course, it's a methodical play to try and get people to spend cash on the Packers. And then, of course, they'll pay later. All right, so there's that. Do you want to get to Ray Didinger? Sure, let's do that. Let's get to Ray Didinger. Ray Didinger is one of the best football minds we have in this town. Here's Ray Didinger on the Packers, okay?
The scenario to me is a little is a little too familiar. It makes me nervous because last year Green Bay is exactly the same position. They're a wild card team going on the road to play the NFC East champs as pretty big underdogs, and we all know what they did to the Cowboys.
See, and I love Diddy. We all love Ray Didinger. There is no reason to panic because of what the Packers did to Mike McCarthy and did to the Dallas Cowboys last season. We ain't the Cowboys, okay? We're not a loser. We're not frauds. You come to the link, game over. The Packers are not coming here and beating us. It St. Jerry's World, okay? With that little fugazi-ass place that they think is cool to run full speed to go get their spot. They look like idiots. The link is filled with a different arrogance. It's filled with a different intensity. It's filled with just 60,000 people a mean mugging, knowing, dude, you are going to get killed. Hostile. They're super injured, too. Jordan Love, maybe maybe the Packers escaped something that could have been more serious, and that's good. I don't want anybody to get banged up. I want to take teams down when they are fully strapped, because I think when the birds are fully strapped too, guess what? You're getting your ass kicked. You're getting bent over saying, who's your daddy? What's he do? It's going to get nasty, real dirty. So I want to take everybody's best shot, because our best shot is significantly better than yours. So Green Bay escaping it, that's great for the Jordan Love aspect, but they are losing Alexander. They are losing Watson, who's a big deal with the explosive plays with their offense in theory. I doubt they can get a lot of those big bombs off against us as it is with Vic Fangio, who's a sensational defensive mind. But in theory, if they were able to generate a little pop in the passing game, yeah, Watson would be there for you, but he's not there. He's not there. And this Packers team, they haven't shown you all year long that they are capable of beating a team that is serious. They've done an excellent job beating the teams they are supposed to beat. But there's a different element here, and that's being on the road at the link in January against the number 2 seed who has 14 wins this year, an all-time offensive line, an all-time running back, and A.J. Brown is going to mollywop you. Like, it's unbelievable. So I understand what the Packers did last year, and I get it. People were high on the Cowboys. The Cowboys are known losers. They do not win playoff games. They're throwing a parade and celebrating when they win a wild card round. That's how long it's been and how much of a drought it's been for them to do anything serious, even after winning double-digit games for a couple years in a row under Mike McCarthy. They acted like they were the best team on planet Earth after winning a round. While the Eagles have taken a while to finally win a Super Bowl, and while they lost in 2022 in the dance, they get there. They win playoff games. And I don't think because a Cowboys team fell apart and collapsed that equals this Eagles team doing the same thing, even if a scrappy underdog Green Bay squad is coming to your football field. We handle it better. Nick Sirianni is a better emotional leader. Nick Sirianni has them well prepared. Nick Sirianni has them inspired. He attacks this completely different than what we see out of Mike McCarthy. So I just don't see it apples to apples, even though I'm aware that they once did that. But they once did that against a team that is completely irrelevant to the team that the Packers are about to face. I cannot put us in the same category as Dallas. Zach Bond, Quinyon Mitchell, Coop! Is there anything better than a Coop? Come on, man. We got something that the Packers haven't seen, or when they do see it, they can't beat. Let's go there. Whenever they do see it, they fail. And they fail because they don't have enough. So that's why I see it being different. We're going to listen to Dan Orlovsky here in a second. Before we do, if you are new to the channel, hello, welcome on in. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button as well. I greatly appreciate all of your support. I love you, I love you, I love you. And also, do not forget we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of your podcasting platforms. If you search Sports Talk with Brodes, you can leave a 5-star rating and a review. Thank you all so much. You guys are the best. And also, do not forget that garage beer is the best beer on planet Earth. All right? Do not worry about IPAs. Do not worry about anything where the taste makes you go, oh, what the hell was that? No. 0% IPA, 100% light beer, 1,000% quality. DrinkGarageBeer.com. All right, here is Dan Orlovsky on the matchup versus the Eagles secondary. Take a listen.
How big of an impact is losing Watson for Green Bay?
Oh, it's huge. I really believe that that's the most impactful perimeter player that they have. Just because he's the vertical threat guy, he's not only the guy that actually makes plays down the field, but he's the person that at least fears or puts the fear in defenses to go make some plays down the field. We're going to get into a lot of the 4-by-1 formation trend that's in the NFL, but he's one of the premier guys that they would put backside just because they could take their shots downfield. So while I do really like their pieces, I just don't think that they have enough vertical speed to really push the ball downfield, specifically against the Philadelphia defense. That's really the only thing you feel comfortable doing.
Let me say this. With Watson, they didn't have enough. Without, it only gets greasier. So he's so right in regards to the schematics and the X's and O's. And even when we get further along here in the week, yeah, we'll dive into matchups more and all. And that's a massive blow. That's a massive hit for the skill position group of Green Bay. And here's another thing, though. I think Jordan Love is an intriguing quarterback. I would not be angry if my favorite organization had Jordan Love. I'm not saying I want Love over this guy, Love over that. I'm just saying, in general, if your organization has Jordan Love, I think that's a good base, right? And he's only going to improve. He's still young. I like Jordan Love. He doesn't scare me, though. I like him, and I think he's going to become a solid NFL quarterback who's going to make plays, who's going to be efficient. You can see what happens when he changes from being a turnover machine compared to not, and he seemed to have a good way about changing that through the course of this regular season, which is not always easy to do. Jalen Hurts did the same thing as well, but I actually feel Daniels more than I fear Jordan Love. And truth be told, with this team in particular, I still think that the Eagles smash a Washington team with a healthy Jalen Hurts if he wasn't to go down, because you saw the way that was trending. But I'm saying, if I'm comparing the two, Daniels Love, Daniels does the hokey dokey. Is that it? Is that the right thing? He pulls a cat out of his ass, out of the hat. I don't know. Anyway, Love is going to make plays. But there's no serious fear that this defense is going to fall apart after being a #1 defense in the league under Vic Fangio because of Jordan Love. I just don't see it, especially to tie it all together without Watson. So I don't see it. I just don't see it. All right. We got some anytime hotline calls? We sure do. Which way do I want to go here? I'll just go in chronological order from when they came in. All right, let's go to the phones.
Hey, Brodes, it's Eric. Haven't listened to your right after the game pod yet. Planning on doing that later tonight.
Slacking.
But I'm just catching up on what happened with the game.
Slacking?
Seems like an okay game. Would have loved to win by more. I had a bet that the Eagles would win by 14 or more, so I lost out on like $80 for that. Definitely think it's time to move on from Jake Elliott. I don't know if you talked about this at all in your pod or if you're going to have a negative reaction to that, but I think this guy's going to cost us a game in the playoffs. And I'm not worried about Green Bay. Green Bay should be an easy win. I don't know if it'll be a blowout, but go Birds. Here's to the Super Bowl. Goodbye.
Thanks for the call, man. So, Jake Elliott. I have a love-hate relationship right now with the Jake Elliott thing. Love's probably strong. Here's the thing. He's your kicker for the playoffs, so there's nothing you can do about it. He's going to be the kicker, and you're going to rely on him when it comes down to the game. Could be 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds to go, you name it. This is your guy. I don't think he fails. Here's my gut. I don't think he fails to cost us a playoff game with a game on the line. I do think he'll miss a field goal in the playoffs, but if that field goal, and of course when the game's over, you can say, oh, we lost by 3 points, we had 3 points, but like I could see him missing a field goal in the first quarter. I could see him missing a field goal in the second quarter, but I could also see him draining one in the fourth when you desperately need one to go up 1. So the way I see it is, and all points matter, right? So you don't have points on the board and you miss a chance and you give a team or the other team field position where they could work with it at a good spot. It could bite you in the rear end too. So I get it. And of course, it can go back to that miss and you could tie it all together and say without that miss, blah, 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 blah. I know, but there's still so much football after that, and there's going to be so many other ways that you could win the football game after that. You never want to miss kicks, but this is part of the team's brand. So I'm walking through it in a way that I feel it's going to play out. I believe there will be moments for Jake Elliott where he misses in a first quarter, a second quarter, but I don't think it's going to be the Eagles are down by 2. There's 14 seconds to go. Jake Elliott's at the 39-yard line, for a 39-yarder, I should say, and he straight up misses it, and the Eagles lose. The other team knees it, and then you're going home and getting sent packing. Now, maybe I'm nuts to feel that won't happen. Maybe I'm an idiot considering we've seen Jake Elliott miss a ton this year. I laid it out this way, and I'll lay it out this way again, though. He also does make kicks. He also does make big kicks. Now, he's missing at too much of a rate that is bothersome. But I don't want to lose reality that he does also make big kicks too. We're just used to him making clutch kicks nonstop, always 24/7, never having to worry about it. And we now are in a spot where if this was earlier in the season, and he wasn't Jake Elliott, and he didn't have the resume, yeah, you would talk about potentially finding new blood, finding a new kicker. But because of his background and because of what he's done and because of his history and his track record, you give him a bit of a longer leash. That maybe the big game Jake Elliott, big nutsack, I'm the guy. Maybe he shows up large now that it's the playoff season and we got a kicker with big testicles when it's time, when it's winning time. Maybe that's what he shows us this season, this postseason. But he does make kicks. I'm not the most confident guy in the world with Jake Elliott, but this is why I say love-hate. It's not really love-hate, it's conflicted. That's just describing my conflicted feelings. See where I'm at? It's probably going to have some ugliness. It's definitely going to have some ugliness. Let me clean that up. It's definitely going to have some ugliness. But to what level? See, that's fear that I can understand. The fear I can understand is we already beat them in week 1. So what are the odds we can beat them again? Oh my, you are sad. You are sad. That's soft. The amount of times I've heard, I wish we lost week 1 so I could feel better about getting revenge. Are you sick in the head? Are you for real? I don't know if you're being a troll or not. I don't know if you're being real or not. But that can't be your way of thinking, right? First off, playing week 1 in Brazil and then getting matched up, 18, 19 weeks later or so. You're a completely different football team. This team was 2-2. They finished 14-3. That's disgusting. A good level of disgust. That's incredible. So they were trying to figure out and establish what they were going to be at the time they met. And same with Green Bay. They're a different team too. But you can't compare who the Eagles were. They didn't even commit to the run yet then. That was a team that didn't have the offensive line barge into the coach's office throughout a bye week and say, we got to lean on our strengths, dude. So that wasn't even into the equation. This is a completely different. These are two totally different teams. It's like they didn't even meet yet. Pretend they're meeting for the first time because these versions of these teams haven't competed yet. And by the way, they were in a different country playing on a Friday night. So I can't compare the two. It's a new week. It's a new game. It's two new teams. And the Eagles are going to kick ass. Hey, listen, we're going to have conversations all week long. So if you do want to call in at 856-442-9805 into the Anytime Hotline, I see a lot of calls are lined up. You can join them, and we will react and play some calls throughout the show. I'm going to wrap this one up here, but there are some in the holster, and you can add on to that if you want. Just tell me about how you're feeling about the Eagles, about the Packers, about Jaylen, about Jake Elliott, anything that you think applies to this week's matchup. Sunday at 4:30. Good time. Really like that time slot that we were given. So once again, 856-442-9805. The number's on the screen. Really looking forward to hearing your calls. Thank you guys all so much. That's where I stand today. We'll see how we progress moving forward here emotionally, although the Eagles are going to kick ass. Thank you all so much for hanging out, and I'll catch you all on the next one.